let you know ahead of time that even though it means the dwarves, all their characteristics are basically Jewish as far as the caricature of the Jews are concerned, Wagner was an anti-Semite. Just so you know, ahead of time. No doubt about it, by the way.
Considering his biggest fan, I'm not surprised.
I was going to get to that, actually. Because Hitler said that he heard the fourth opera 100 times. That's a 6-hour-long opera called Die Götterdämmerung, which is the twilight of the gods, when the gods end up dying. Because the Schopenhauer-like will is really kind of a Buddhist karma, if you think about it. And what this insists on is entropy, really. So destroying any of your plans. And Wotan has all these plans, and basically everything is going to screw up all of his plans. So in Das Rheingold, they end up giving the stolen gold, including the ring that Alberich has created, which, by the way, is just like all the other magic rings in history. If you put it on, it makes you invisible, or and gives you all this power, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The ring has cursed Wotan, however, who wore it for a while, and he wants it back. But now the giants have it. Well, the giants actually immediately fight one another over it, and so the one kills the other, and so the one giant realizes it's been cursed, and so he turns himself into a dragon in front of a cave to block anyone from ever getting the gold, including the ring, ever again. Wotan wants the ring back, so he has to kill the dragon in order to get it. But he's not allowed to kill the dragon because he's got the promise on his spear that says he can't go against, the contract that he had. So he comes up with this great idea. He'll have a couple of kids, and his son will go and kill the dragon for him. So in the second opera, Die Valkyrie, where the Valkyrie's bride comes, because he has all the Valkyries, they're all his daughters too, and they ride horses to battles where they harvest all the dead heroes. That's what they do, right? So it's not a good thing when a Valkyrie comes in front of you, because that means you're dying soon, and she's taking your corpse to Valhalla, right? So it's not a good thing. But in any case, he has Sigmund and Sieglinde, who are the Schwellingspaar. That's twins in German. Isn't that neat? Schwelling, the Swellingspaar, the pair who are in the swelling. I love some of those, the way words work. In any case, so they grow up. They're independent of Dad. They don't even know it, etc. And but Dad comes and plants a tree for Sigmund. Plants a sword in a tree for Sigmund, and that's Notung, needful, right? So Sigmund has the sword, and Sieglinde, and they're off and running, except Wotan's wife points out, you're breaking your contract, you can't do this. It's still you. And so Wotan is pissed off, but he goes and allows an enemy to kill his son and he breaks the sword. But before this happens, Sieglinde ends up being pregnant from Sigmund. So this is interesting, right? They're brother and sister, twins, and she's going to have a baby, and the baby is Siegfried, which means victory free victory, right? And so Wotan had nothing to do with Siegfried, right? And Siegfried gets the pieces of the broken sword, and in this song is where he's finally figured out that he's going to, reforge the sword. And that's why it's so powerful a music, because he's making the sword himself. And then he does go and kill the dragon and get the ring and the Tarnhelm, which is the magic helmet that enables you to look like whoever, etc. And by the way, he also gets the chief Valkyrie as a wife. That's Brunhild. So, he's made in the shade, except he's an innocent idiot, basically. And so he ends up being hornswoggled by Alberic's son, and he ends up being killed, speared in the back, and so you end up with the great big funeral. And the fire from the funeral pyre, which Hitler wanted to emulate. He wanted to have his own funeral pyre, and he got one. Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing at that. Well, why not? It's good to laugh at Hitler, isn't it? When Hitler gets burned to a crisp. With his new wife, that's their honeymoon, a funeral, a pyre, boom, burned to a crisp with gasoline before the Russians got there. That's just true. I can help Eddie Izzard.
Yeah, that's funny. Like, it's bad.
Which one do you think it is? Shall I go with this one?
Whatever. I like the Russians.
You stole countries. That's how you got
Well
them.
said now.
You stole. I mean, a bloody flag. It's our country. I've just made up. And I'm backing it up with this gun. That's it,
Okay, so that wasn't a good one. But he makes fun of Hitler, and so there. So Wagner has written this 16-hour-long opera, which, yes, Hitler loved so much that he watched the fourth one 100 times, and literally named a whole bunch of the battle things, the Siegfried line, etc. That's all stuff that's out there. I think, did I mention Crazy Ludwig was a noble at the time, and he built the castle, Neuschwanstein. Did I ever show you that? No? Neuschwanstein? If you're ever touring in Germany, I did actually physically go there. It wasn't just a Google Earth visit while I was there. Neuschwanstein. Tourist info. That's pretty famous, right? Is the castle? Yes? It's always crowded though. So but all the artwork, all Schwann, that's all Hegelian, Wagnerian. Wagner's art. Crazy Ludwig the First of Bavaria was absolutely in love with Wagner's operas, and so basically this whole castle is just a museum in honor of the art. The walls are all painted about Parsifal and Lohengrin and all these. No one ever lived in the castle, by the way. It was, not really. I mean, Crazy Ludwig might have had some parties and things, but he didn't just build that castle. He built a whole bunch of castles, and was bankrupting the state. So basically, they suspect somebody drowned him in the lake. That's the end of Crazy Ludwig.
I don't know what you expected from somebody named Crazy Ludwig.
Yeah, that was, the mother, and he shall be named Crazy.
Yeah, like.
Wait, why isn't anybody living there now? It's like a nice little castle, or is it like?
It's a tourist thing. Everybody goes there. It's one of the most crowded tourist sites in Europe every day.
That would make sense.
Yeah. Look up videos of the tours and stuff, and you'll see. So Wagner, I want to introduce him, and here's the neat thing: he was so thrilled with Schopenhauer's philosophy, and his Ring cycle is basically based on Schopenhauer's work, that he sent Schopenhauer a score and dedicated it to him. And Schopenhauer, and this is one of the reasons I really don't like Schopenhauer. Schopenhauer got the score and read through it, and he was horrified because Wagner made up his own ancient German language for the operas. So they're singing in what he imagined would be like a ancient German version instead of real German, and Schopenhauer was horrified by it and just like took the red pen to the whole, and this is horrible, 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 and never thanked Wagner or even sent the score back until after Wagner had died. And then he did send it back, and Cosima, his wife, when she got it, she looked at it and she was so glad that he had died before he saw what Schopenhauer thought of this whole work. But Nietzsche is also absolutely fascinated with Wagner, and if you go and listen back to Bettany, let's see.
Did you like sneak into his room?
This by the way is where she goes and visits the place, the hotel where he wrote.
But to whisper in your ear, and how to live your life as lived, time and time again throughout eternity, with all the pain and with all the greatness, would you fall to the ground and gnash your teeth and curse that demon? Or would you say that he was a god and that his utterances were divine?
It was an idea that became known as the eternal recurrence of the same, and it formed the very essence of Nietzsche's attitude to life, to both its joys and its hardships.
Nietzsche believed
Oh, that rock, by the way,
things that we might
is
consider
where he got that idea. That's why she's there.
relationship with a loved one. We should be happy to relive those events too. Just as a pianist learns to master improvisations, so we should learn to incorporate mistakes and imperfections and sorrows into the beauty of the whole. We should construct our lives so we are our own heroes. Basically, we should decide who we want to be, how we want to live our life, and then love the choices that we've made. So that the thought of reliving our existence, for good and for bad, can be greeted with a life-affirming yes.
The eternal return was an exuberant and optimistic embrace of life. Suffering wasn't something that you had to be redeemed from, as Christianity taught, or avoided at all costs, as Schopenhauer argued. Instead, it was to be embraced, mastered. To live life most fully, one had to risk suffering and overcome it.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger is one of Nietzsche's most iconic phrases.
You've all heard that one.
And it was one that he himself was just about to have to put to the test.
The philosopher was about to face one of the greatest disappointments of his life.
This is a good video, by the way.
It was in the beautiful town of Lucerne, known to be an
What?
artistic genius whose music was going to bring about
Here's-
a cultural rebirth
Nietzsche's visit to Bayreuth. That's the
of tragedy.
concert hall that Wagner built for his operas.
It was an art
in
form
Bayreuth.
that Nietzsche was
By the way, it's still there,
convinced to transform
and every
a
year it
wild
has
suffering
a,
into something
of
beautiful.
an annual festival, which is so packed full of people that you have to get your tickets out 5 years in advance. What you go.
That's dedication.
Jesus might get a loge. Well, actually, there's no loges. You're all just sitting in the audience.
Wagner was developing a revolutionary
But
Nietzsche.
but so these guys. The reason I'm merging these in for you is because they are all interconnected in what goes on.